Ambassador Sarah Chen stood motionless before the Galactic Imperial Council, her diplomatic robes a stark contrast of earth blue against the crystalline chamber's pale purple walls. 3,000 representatives from across the Empire's million worlds stared down at her from their floating platforms, their expressions ranging from bored indifference to mild amusement. "Humanity respectfully declined your offer of relocation," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. The words triggered a wave of chittering laughs and dismissive gestures among the council members. Sarah allowed herself a small smile, knowing that quantum transmitters hidden throughout the chamber were broadcasting this moment to every corner of the Empire. High Chancellor Zoxpaz leaned forward on his crystalline throne, his silver-scaled face reflecting the chamber's ambient light. "Ambassador Chen, surely you understand that this decision has already been made. The relocation of primitive species to appropriate habitats is standard Imperial protocol." Sarah reached into her pocket and withdrew a small holographic projector. The device, assembled with technology that the Empire insisted humanity couldn't possibly possess, hummed to life. A three-dimensional image of Earth appeared above her palm, surrounded by streams of data that even the Empire's most advanced systems would need hours to process. "Let me be clear about what Earth actually is," Sarah said, expanding the hologram. "We are not the primitive species you imagine. While you kept us quarantined, claiming it was for our protection, we grew. We learned. We evolved." The hologram shifted, showing achievements that the Empire had overlooked. Quantum computing centers hidden in the Mariana Trench, antimatter production facilities beneath the Sahara, and solar energy collection systems that drew power from dimensions the Empire's science declared unreachable. "For 3 centuries, you have contained us within our solar system, claiming it was to protect other species from our violent nature. Today, we demonstrate that your containment served a different purpose entirely." Fear. The council chamber erupted in protests, but Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. "You fear us not for what we are, but for what we can become. Your empire has grown stagnant, believing it has discovered all that can be discovered. But humanity, we dream. We imagine. We create possibilities your systems insist cannot exist." She closed her hand, and a hologram transformed into a star map of the Empire. "This is your only warning. Recognize Earth's sovereignty, or we will demonstrate exactly why you were right to fear us. We have already seeded your empire with innovations you cannot comprehend. The choice of how they are revealed is yours." High Chancellor Zoxpaz rose from his throne, his ceremonial wings flaring with anger. "You dare threaten the Empire? We have kept you safe, protected you from—" "No," Sarah interrupted, her smile unwavering. "You have kept the galaxy safe from us. And now, that protection ends. Humanity will take its place among the stars, either as equals or as the force that reshapes your empire's understanding of what is possible." The quantum transmitters pulsed silently, carrying her words to every world, every station, every ship across Imperial space. As protests and demands for her arrest filled the chamber, Sarah Chen stood calmly, knowing that humanity's greatest weapon had already been deployed: the power to imagine impossibilities and make them real. 20 years earlier, Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood in the crystal caves of Europa, her breath forming delicate clouds in the pressurized chamber. The ice moon's underground ocean had given humanity its first breakthrough, and now it served as their greatest laboratory. She pressed her hand against the translucent wall, feeling the subtle vibrations of machinery hidden deeper within the moon. "The Empire's sensors just passed overhead," Marcus Santos said, then still a captain rather than an admiral. He stood beside a bank of quantum computers that, according to Imperial science, shouldn't have been possible to construct. "They still think we're mining ice for our colonies." Yuki nodded, her attention fixed on the holographic display showing their latest test results. "They believe what they expect to see. The Empire's greatest weakness is their certainty about what is and isn't possible." The chamber hummed with energy as their latest experiment came online. Deep beneath Europa's surface, Humanity had discovered something remarkable. Space itself had rules that the Empire had never imagined. Their quarantine, meant to contain humanity's violent tendencies, had instead given Earth's scientists decades of uninterrupted research. "Look at this," Yuki said, manipulating the hologram. "When we alter the quantum state of these particles, they don't just affect local space. They create a cascade effect through subspace." She highlighted a sequence of numbers that defied imperial physics. "We can use this to influence stellar matter at a distance." Marcus leaned closer, his military training helping him grasp the strategic implications. "You're saying we could affect stars themselves, without being anywhere near them?" "More than that," Yuki replied, expanding the display. "We can control exactly how the stellar matter behaves. The Empire believes star manipulation requires massive engineering projects. They never considered that space itself could be used as a tool." Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert. On the main screen, they watched an Imperial survey ship passing through the outer solar system. Its sensors swept Earth's colonies on Mars and the asteroid belt, its crew completely unaware of the true extent of human advancement. "How many other facilities like this do we have now?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. 17 major research stations, all hidden beneath the surface of various moons and asteroids, Yuki said, bringing up a secure map of the solar system, each one working on different applications of our discoveries. The quantum tunneling team on Titan just achieved their first successful test last week. Marcus smiled grimly. "The Empire gives us breadcrumbs of their technology, thinking they're keeping us dependent. Meanwhile, we're developing entire fields of science they haven't even imagined." "That's humanity's real strength," Yuki said, watching as their latest test results showed another successful trial. "We don't just work with what we're given. We dream of what could be, and then we find ways to make it real." The chamber's lights flickered as power surged through their experimental array. Deep beneath Europa's ice, humanity was preparing a response to centuries of containment. The Empire believed they were protecting the galaxy from a primitive, violent species. They would soon learn that their greatest mistake was giving humanity time to innovate in isolation. Admiral Marcus Santos watched the Imperial pacification fleet emerge from hyperspace, their ships arranged in the Empire's standard diamond formation. 3,000 vessels strong, their silver hulls gleamed in the light of Sol. The Empire's tactical computers had calculated this display of force would be sufficient to subdue any primitive civilization. "They're broadcasting their demands," his communications officer reported from the bridge of the Earth ship Endeavor. "Standard Imperial protocol. Immediate surrender and compliance with relocation orders." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "Send them our response, just as we planned." The Endeavor hung in space, seemingly alone against the massive Imperial fleet. Its hull, constructed of materials that Imperial sensors couldn't properly analyze, appeared to shimmer slightly in the starlight. Behind it, hidden by quantum fields that bent both light and space, waited humanity's true fleet. The Imperial commander's voice boomed through the bridge. "Primitive vessel, you have 5 minutes to power down your systems and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in immediate disciplinary action." "Now," Marcus ordered quietly. Across the solar system, quantum fields rippled. Ships that had been hidden in plain sight revealed themselves, their positions carefully calculated over decades of preparation. The Imperial fleet's tactical display suddenly blazed with new contacts as human vessels appeared simultaneously at multiple strategic points. The Empire's response was predictable. A full spread of their most advanced energy weapons designed to disable any known technology. The beams passed harmlessly through human ships, their energy dispersed through quantum channels that the Empire's science insisted couldn't exist. "Launch our first wave," Marcus commanded. "Remember, minimal casualties. We're making a point, not starting a war." Human ships moved with impossible grace, their quantum drives allowing them to shift position faster than Imperial targeting systems could track. Each vessel seemed to dance between the enemy's weapon fire, getting close enough to disable key systems before vanishing again. The Imperial fleet's formation broke as confusion spread through their ranks. Their strategic AI, trained on millions of battles across thousands of years, could not predict or counter human tactics. Ships that should have been easily destroyed simply weren't where they were supposed to be when weapons fired. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "they're preparing to launch their automated drone swarms." Marcus nodded. "Execute Phase 2. 50 light-years away, a seemingly unremarkable star flared briefly. The Imperial fleet's sensors registered the event just as their own scanners detected something impossible. The star's quantum signature had been artificially altered, its core manipulated through space itself. The demonstration was precise. When the light from the stellar event reached nearby Imperial worlds, they would find that a secret military research facility had been perfectly excised from its star system, while civilian populations remained completely unharmed. "Send the follow-up message," Marcus ordered, watching as the Imperial fleet fell into disarray. "Make sure they understand. This was orchestrated from right here, through space they thought they controlled. And remind them, this star was chosen very carefully. We know where all their secret facilities are." The Imperial fleet began to regroup, but their formation was ragged now, uncertainty replacing their earlier confidence. They had expected to find primitive ships with barely functional technology. Instead, they faced an enemy that could reach across space itself to strike at will. Humanity's first demonstration of power was complete. Now they waited to see how the Empire would respond. The Imperial Grand Fleet materialized around Earth's orbit in a display of overwhelming force that turned the sky into a tapestry of starships. 50,000 vessels, gathered from across the Empire's million worlds, arranged themselves in a sphere that encompassed the entire planet. Their arrival cast artificial eclipses across Earth's surface as cities fell into manufactured shadow. High Chancellor Zoxbas stood on his flagship's command deck, waiting for the inevitable surrender transmission from the primitive world below. Instead, his sensors chief's voice cracked with confusion. "Chancellor, we're detecting nothing. No population centers, no industrial emissions, no defense platforms. The planet appears abandoned." The massive holographic display showed Earth's surface in perfect detail. Cities stood silent. Ports remained empty. Orbital stations hung unoccupied in their eternal dance around the planet. "Impossible," Zoxbas hissed. 7 billion humans cannot simply vanish." As if in response to his words, every screen in the fleet flickered to life simultaneously. Quantum encoders that should have been impenetrable were bypassed as if they didn't exist. The message appeared in perfect Imperial script. "You thought you understood humanity. You were wrong." Dr. Yuki Tanaka watched the Imperial fleet's reaction from a quantum observation post hidden between moments of space-time. Her team had perfected the evacuation technology months ago, transferring Earth's entire population through quantum tunnels to prepared sanctuary worlds beyond the Empire's reach. "They're preparing to fire," her assistant noted, watching the Imperial fleet's power signatures spike. Yuki nodded calmly. "Exactly as predicted. Signal the automated defense grid." When the Imperial fleet launched its first barrage, intending to reduce Earth's surface to molten slag, they encountered something unprecedented. Their weapons didn't impact a planetary shield. They simply ceased to exist. The space around Earth rippled like disturbed water, absorbing and dispersing energy that should have been unstoppable. A new message appeared across their screens. "For every Earth citizen you attempt to harm, 10 of your military worlds will share their star's final moment." This is not a threat. This is a mathematical equation. Deep in quantum space, Admiral Santos received Yuki's signal. They took the bait. Initiate the synchronized response. Across Imperial space, 10 stars flared simultaneously. When their light reached nearby worlds, Imperial military installations would simply be gone, extracted from spacetime with surgical precision. Civilian populations would find themselves untouched, protected by the same quantum fields that had saved Earth's people. On his flagship, Zoxvas watched in horror as reports flooded in. Not just military bases, but secret research facilities, hidden fleets, and classified production centers, all precisely removed from existence. Centuries of hidden military infrastructure erased in moments. A final message appeared, this time accompanied by Ambassador Chen's calm voice. "We know every secret you've kept from your own people. Each attempt to strike at us will result in those secrets being revealed, first through demonstration, then through data. The choice remains yours." The Imperial fleet held position around an empty Earth, their weapons powered down, as the Empire's leaders faced a terrifying realization. They had never truly been containing humanity. They had merely given them time to prepare. Maya Chen, Sarah's younger sister and Earth's top infiltration specialist, sat in a crowded marketplace on the Imperial core world of Centaurus Prime. Her quantum camouflage system made her appear as a common Centaurian trader, her scaled skin reflecting the golden light of 3 suns. Around her, hundreds of aliens from dozens of species haggled over goods from across the Empire. "Package delivered," she whispered into her subvocal communicator. In the center of the market, a small device no larger than a grain of sand began broadcasting quantum-encrypted data through channels the Empire couldn't detect. Similar devices activated across 50,000 worlds simultaneously. The Imperial news networks were already struggling to contain the spread of information about the disappeared military installations. Now, through hidden quantum channels, the truth began reaching ordinary citizens. Proofs of Imperial manipulation, evidence of suppressed technologies, and records of alternate scientific theories that the Empire had buried. On the trading world of Nexus 6, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's former student, James Rodriguez, demonstrated a simple quantum energy generator to a group of wide-eyed alien engineers. The device, built from common materials, produced clean energy in ways that Imperial science had declared impossible. "The principles are simple," he explained, watching their expressions shift from skepticism to wonder. "Your Empire didn't suppress this technology because it was dangerous. They suppressed it because it would make worlds independent." In the Outer Rim, Admiral Santa's protege, Lieutenant Sarah Jo, helped a colony of silicon-based life forms modify their environmental systems using human innovations. The crystalline beings had been told their harsh world could never be properly terraformed. Now they watched as their toxic atmosphere began transforming into something more hospitable. "This isn't just about standing up to the Empire," Sarah explained to their elder council. "It's about showing every species what they're truly capable of achieving." Back on Centaurus Prime, Maya watched the marketplace's reaction as the first pieces of leaked data reached personal communication devices. A Thoraxian merchant nearly dropped his wares as he read about his species' suppressed telepathic abilities. A group of Valerian scholars huddled around a datapad, their bioluminescent patterns flashing rapidly as they discovered centuries of hidden scientific research. "Phase 2 is ready," Maya reported. "Shall we proceed?" In quantum space, humanity's hidden council received her transmission. Their response was immediate. "Execute." Across the Empire, hidden human agents activated secondary protocols. Educational databases began receiving mysterious updates. Research facilities found their computer systems containing new, revolutionary theories. Public archives were quietly supplemented with historical records the Empire had erased. Maya smiled as she watched a young Centaurian student excitedly show her friend something on her datapad. The Empire had spent centuries maintaining control through carefully managed knowledge. Humanity's response wasn't to destroy that control, it was to render it impossible through the free flow of information. "The best way to break chains," Maya whispered to herself, quoting her sister's words from years ago, "is to show people they were never needed in the first place." Around her, the whispers of revolution began spreading through the crowd, not with calls for violence, but with questions that could no longer be silenced. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood in the ancient Imperial Archive beneath the capital city of Nexus Prime, her quantum disguise making her appear as a standard Imperial researcher. The vast chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with crystalline data structures containing millions of years of Imperial knowledge. The facility's AI regarded her with mild interest. Your credentials indicate you're researching early Imperial expansion patterns. How may I assist? Yuki inserted a quantum decoder into the nearest terminal. The device, impossibly small by Imperial standards, began bypassing security protocols that should have been unbreakable. Actually, I'm interested in Earth's quarantine classification, the original files. The AI's avatar flickered as hidden databases activated. On her neural display, Yuki watched as humanity's true classification appeared: species designation, anomalous cognition type 1, containment priority, maximum. The files began streaming into her quantum storage device: reports from the first Imperial contact with Earth, psychological studies of human children, detailed analyses of human creative processes, each document revealing a truth the Empire had hidden even from its own people. Neural pathway analysis suggests impossible thought patterns, one report stated. Human subjects routinely conceive of concepts that violate fundamental universal constants. More concerning, they can transmit these impossible ideas to others through various forms of communication. Another file contained urgent warnings. Unlike all known sentient species, humans do not accept universal constants as immutable. When presented with a law of physics, they immediately begin imagining ways it could be different. This mental flexibility appears to alter local quantum states through mechanisms we cannot detect. Yuki's hands trembled as she accessed the final classification report, dated just after Earth's quarantine began. Human imagination operates outside normal space-time constraints. Their ability to conceive genuine impossibilities creates quantum disturbances that could destabilize Imperial scientific constants. Recommendation: immediate containment before they learn to weaponize this ability. Fascinating reading, isn't it? Yuki spun around. An elderly Imperial scientist stood watching her, but something about his quantum signature seemed wrong. He smiled, his disguise flickering to reveal James Rodriguez, one of her former students. The Empire didn't fear our violence, James said, examining another data stream. They feared our dreams. Every other species builds technology based on what they know is possible. We imagine what should be impossible, and then we make it real. The Archive's AI sparked with new awareness as Yuki's quantum decoder finished its work. Across the facility, hidden truths began emerging from sealed databases. The true history of a galaxy where one species' imagination had threatened an empire's control of reality itself. That's why they tried so hard to guide our development, Yuki realized. Every piece of technology they gave us was carefully chosen to reinforce their version of physical laws. James nodded, watching as the Archive's contents began transmitting across quantum channels to every learning center in the Empire. They thought they were containing us. Instead, they gave us 3 centuries to perfect the art of dreaming impossible dreams. Around them, the archive hummed with awakening knowledge as the truth about humanity's unique gift began spreading across the stars. K'Tal stood before the Central Science Academy of Proxima Centauri, his crystalline form refracting the light of the setting sun. 3 months ago, he had been a respected Imperial physicist. Now he addressed a gathering of scientists from 50 different species, each drawn by humanity's revolutionary ideas. For 10,000 years, we accepted the Empire's definition of possible, he said, gesturing to the quantum display behind him. Today, we break free from those limitations. The display showed a real-time feed from the Centaurian desert, where a team of human and alien scientists worked together on a project that should have been impossible. They were creating a controlled atmosphere bubble on the planet's harsh surface, using principles that defied Imperial physics. In orbit above them, Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck of the Earth ship Prometheus. "How many worlds have adopted the new technology so far?" she asked her aide. 217 have officially begun implementing quantum energy systems, the aide reported. Another 1,000 are secretly testing them. The Empire's control is weakening as more worlds realize they can be self-sufficient. On the desert surface below, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked alongside a group of Valerian energy specialists. Their bioluminescent patterns pulsed with excitement as they modified their traditional power systems with human innovations. The principles were always there, Yuki explained, adjusting a quantum field generator. You just needed to imagine beyond the boundaries you were given. The Valerians watched in wonder as their modified system began producing 10 times more energy than Imperial science claimed was possible. One of them, a young researcher named Zinra, turned to Yuki with glowing patterns that indicated profound revelation. We never questioned why certain theories were forbidden, Zinra said. We never thought to ask what lay beyond the walls of our scientific understanding. Across the Empire, similar scenes played out on countless worlds. Species that had been dependent on Imperial technology for millennia began discovering their own potential. Ancient rivals found common ground in shared discovery. The rigid hierarchies of Imperial knowledge gave way to a renaissance of innovation. Admiral Santos, coordinating from quantum space, received reports from hundreds of human teams scattered throughout Imperial territory. Each team shared the same observation. The Empire's control was dissolving not through force, but through inspiration. The latest data from the Outer Rim colonies is remarkable, his tactical officer reported. Worlds that were resource-poor under Imperial science are discovering abundant energy sources using human principles. The Empire's economic control is becoming irrelevant. In the Proxima Centauri desert, Catal concluded his presentation as the atmosphere bubble stabilized, creating a habitable zone on the previously deadly surface. The gathered scientists erupted in enthusiastic expressions unique to their species, everything from light displays to harmonic resonances. Humanity's gift to us isn't just their technology, Catal announced, his crystalline form resonating with emotion. They've given us permission to dream beyond our limits, to imagine possibilities that our empire insisted couldn't exist. And in doing so, they've shown us that the greatest cage was the one in our minds. The revolution spreading across the stars wasn't fought with weapons, but with ideas. And against the power of awakened imagination, the Empire's rigid control began to crumble. The Imperial Palace on Nexus Prime glowed in the light of dawn as Sarah Chen walked its crystalline halls one final time. The quantum barriers that had once restricted access to the seat of Imperial power now stood deactivated, their complex patterns visible as fading ripples in the air. High Chancellor Zoxbas waited in the Grand Chamber, but not on his throne. Instead, he stood by the vast window overlooking the capital city, where ships from 1,000 worlds flew freely through the skylines. Your victory is complete, he said as Sarah approached, though not in any way we could have predicted. Sarah smiled, watching a group of young Centaurians demonstrating their newly developed gravity control technology to a crowd of mixed species below. This was never about victory, Chancellor. It was about freedom, not just from Imperial control, but from the limitations of thought you imposed on the galaxy. The chamber's doors opened as representatives from across known space filed in. Dr. Yuki Tanaka and Admiral Santos joined Sarah, while Catal led a group of former Imperial scientists. Maya Chen's quantum signature flickered as she materialized, completing humanity's core leadership. The transition councils are ready, Maya reported. 3,000 worlds have already adopted the new cooperative framework. Another 5,000 are preparing for implementation. Zoxbas turned from the window, his silver scales reflecting the morning light. And what of worlds that wish to maintain Imperial traditions? They're free to do so, Sarah replied. We're not replacing one empire with another. Each world will choose its own path. The only constant is the free exchange of knowledge and ideas. Admiral Santos activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Points of light indicated worlds embracing new possibilities, their connections forming a web of cooperation rather than control. The quantum communication network is now available to all species, he announced. No more restricted technologies, no more suppressed discoveries. Every world can contribute to and benefit from the combined knowledge of all. Yuki stepped forward, addressing the gathered representatives. We've established learning centers across the galaxy where any species can study any field of knowledge. Imperial science will be preserved and honored, but as one perspective among many, not as immutable law. The chamber hummed with energy as quantum fields adjusted to the new patterns of thought filling the galaxy. Below in the city, a cheer rose up as another breakthrough was shared. A group of silicon-based beings had developed a way to communicate directly with organic life forms. There will be challenges, Catal observed. Some worlds may misuse their new freedom. Others might take time to adjust to unlimited possibilities. Sarah nodded. That's why we're establishing the Council of Innovation, not to control, but to guide and protect. Representatives from all species working together to ensure knowledge is shared responsibly. The sunrise reached its peak, filling the chamber with golden light. Where once imperial decree had controlled the flow of ideas, now imagination flowed freely between worlds. Species that had been locked in development for millennia were discovering their true potential. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, Sarah concluded. Not our technology, but our dream that anything is possible. The Empire sought to contain that dream, but instead gave it time to grow into something that could free everyone. As the new day dawned, the age of limitation ended, and the symphony of unlimited possibility began to play across the stars.